My good friend Troy Hazard. Troy Hazard came on the air as a guest of ours, gosh, I'm going to say maybe 10 years ago. Very close to that with his book, The Naked Entrepreneur. Since then, we became friends. We become business partners. And he's also written another book called Future Proofing Your Business, which I'm holding up right here. And he calls us straight from Florida, where he, I believe, just landed the plane just last week. Buddy, you've been gone for a lot. So did you cross the ocean a couple times, or did you when you went down to Australia, you just stayed there this time?
Yeah, just the once this time. I just went for a conference and a board meeting and turned around and came back.
Yeah, that's a tough flight. Hey, first of all, before we get started here, I want to talk about just the state of business in the U.S. versus where you're. What's the sentiment back in Australia versus the U.S.? I mean, we seem to be a little more optimistic about our economy. How are things going internationally?
Yeah, look, we're pretty confident in Australia. Things are going quite well, I think, in general for business. Interestingly enough, I've noticed a really big slowdown here in the US over summer. Summer's usually a bit quieter for our businesses. Well, not our pool business, it's our best time of year, but for my other businesses, my consulting business and my speaking business, it's pretty quiet. But it's been extraordinarily quiet for a lot of businesses through the last couple of months. Really interesting shift on last year.
Well, what's interesting, and you said something there, and since you brought it up, I'm going to bring it up too. Troy is a serial entrepreneur. So Troy, what do you speak, 40, 50 dates a year? Something
about
like that?
50, yeah, about
so
40 or 50.
50 dates a year, Troy goes out there and speaks on his book and on sales and on turning businesses around and so on and so forth. He also has a consulting business. He's also a media pundit. But as if he had any more time, Troy went out and bought himself a pool. When I say pool cleaning business, I mean pool cleaning conglomerate. What? So talk about being, I know we were going to talk about this today, but since you brought it up, I have to talk about this. Talk about you being a serial entrepreneur, because I'm the same way, and I have a hard time explaining to people. But for you see an opportunity, and it's almost too good to pass up, right?
Yeah, look, I'm probably a little bit quieter than I was 20 years ago. But look, I just look for opportunities. And the latest opportunity was this pool business that I've got into. I actually worked with them in Australia for 10 years. The company's called Poolworks. It's a pool and spa cleaning business, and it's also a retail outlet. So in Australia, we've got about 100 stores and about 350 trucks running around servicing pools. In the US, we have 20 stores and 85 mobile units running around cleaning pools. We've been going for about 12 months now, so it's a bit of a roll. And we're out there for world domination, of course. But the start of all these things for me is, what's the opportunity? And for this business, the opportunity was organising a disorganised market. I knew the business, I knew the owners of the business, I'd worked with them for a long time, so it was a great opportunity for me to be part of the family here in the US.
You talk about, it's not about the right time, it's the right time for you. This was obviously the right time for you to do something like this, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I've spent a lot of time with the family over the last few years, so I've been a little bit quieter in business than I usually am. But this was the right time to get into something new. It was a great opportunity for me. And I think that's the way people have got to look at getting into business. It's not about, is it right today? Is it the right economically? Is it right time of the year? Is it the right time of the day? It's about, is it right for you? Are you comfortable that this is a good opportunity for you? And have you done your homework on the opportunity before you jump?
Do you have a metric in your mind, or is there an algorithm that you follow? I mean, because when I talk to business people all the time. Sometimes it's an intangible. Others have a full blown spreadsheet that they plug numbers in and decide. When you're looking at going into something, what are those metrics that are the non-negotiables every single time? Because I know you look at a number of touch points there. For example, in this, you know, let's face it, this isn't a pool cleaning business. It's a pretty big corporation. When you decided to dip your toe, no pun intended, into that pool, what were the non-negotiables before you even consider it? Because I know that you don't even open that door unless a couple of things are a yes, right?
Exactly. And look, for that particular business, I knew the numbers. I've been working with it for a number of years, so I knew it was a solid backbone to the business. We knew the numbers here in the US. We'd done some research on the market, and not just a little bit of research. I'm talking a decade of research before we decided to enter the market. So we were very clear that there was an opportunity and a gap for us to come in and organise a part of the industry that was disorganised.
We talked about the numbers, Troy. We talked about the fact that there's really never a right time for this thing. What we haven't talked about is the piece about your family. You talked about you spent some time with your family. That's an important piece of this thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I think before you get into any business venture, you've got to have the support of your family. They've got to come for that journey because they're going to be part of it. The early years in any business is going to be tough. You're going to have a lot of hours to work, a lot of time on the road maybe, a lot of pressure and stress because you're trying to get in front of that cash flow continuum. And that's going to relate back at home. You're going to have the guys at home understand the stress and pressure you're getting at the office so they can support you through it. So by way of example, for me to get into the pool business, I sat down with Dominique, my wife, and we said, well, is this an opportunity for us that we think is going to be good for the future of our family? It's going to mean a lot of work for me in the early years. Is that worth it? And in fact, in our family, we have a saying, is it worth a sandcastle? And the answer is
it worth a sandcastle? What does that mean?
Is it worth taking me off the beach building sandcastles with the kids? That's the simple story. Yeah. So every time we look at a project, and there's been many that come past over the last couple of years, we look at it and say to ourselves, is that worth a sandcastle? Is it worth taking me off the beach with the kids? And in the case of Poolworks, it certainly was. I knew the business, I knew the brand, I knew what I could do with the brand here in the US. I knew that it would be a limited amount of time that I'd have to put in those 20-hour days to get it going, and then it would start taking a life of its own. And that's exactly what's happened in the last couple of months.
Talk about scalability, because I want to go back to this big pool conglomerate that you're putting together here, and if you think about it, scalability was everything to you, because look can you grow this business beyond an 80-hour-a-week job, right?
Right. And I think that's where a lot of guys come unstuck. They go into business thinking they're getting into a business, but they're just buying themselves a job. They don't look at how they can make it much bigger than themselves. And so when I get into business, the first thing I look for is how I can get out of it. How can I make myself redundant as fast as possible? Mm-hmm. Because then I have a business, I don't have a job. And then the second part of the program is how can you grow faster than the next guy? So let's take Poolworks, for instance. We've found a way to scale the business up faster than our competitors. So by 2025, we'll have 300 stores and 1,000 mobile units in the field. And that's a growth pattern that not any of our competitors has been able to have in the last decade. And we've done it because we've thought cleverly about that scalability and how we can fund the scalability and how we can get to market faster than the next guy. That's the important piece of business. You've got to be faster than the next guy to take the market share, or you will lose the race for space.
So, and that's the whole function that you talk about, working out how to get out before you get into it, right?
We sat down as a family, Dominique and I sat down and said, well, okay, how long do we want to be in this business? How quickly can we grow this business? And how are we going to get out of this business when we're done so we can move on to the next adventure with the kids and the family? I can get back to the beach making sandcastles. We make those decisions on the way in because they're going to affect us for the next 3, 5, 7 years that we're going to be in this business. If we don't ask those questions of ourselves on the way in, likely we'll be stuck with this whole position and not know when it's going to finish. And that's not good for your family, it's not good for your health, it's not good for just a state of mind that says, I know where I'm going, I've got a vision, and I'm going to achieve that vision.
There you go. Troy, thank you so much. Troy Hazard, TroyHazard.com, future-proofing your business. And you can also, a Poolworks franchise available near you. We'll talk to you in a second.